Perched high above the city of Lhasa, with its golden roofs glittering in the Himalayan sun, stands a structure that seems to touch the very heavens. This is the Potala Palace, a breathtaking masterpiece of Tibetan architecture, and a symbol of spiritual devotion that has watched over the roof of the world for centuries. But this magnificent palace isn't just a building, it's a living chronicle, a story written in stone, wood, and gold. Today, we're going to journey back in time and uncover the incredible history of the Potala Palace. Our story begins over 1,300 years ago, in the 7th century, with a powerful king named Sunsankompo. He was the 33rd king of the Yarlung dynasty and is credited with unifying Tibet. To celebrate his marriage to two princesses, Princess Wencheng from Tang Dynasty, China, and Princess Brikuti from Nepal, he decided to build a palace on Marpori, the Red Hill, in the heart of Lhasa. This original structure was called the Red Palace. It was a formidable fortress, said to have 999 rooms, plus one on the very top. It served as his administrative center and royal residence. Can you imagine? A 1,000-room palace, built on a rugged hill in the 7th century. It was a testament to the ambition and power of the early Tibetan Empire. Sadly, this original palace didn't last. It was heavily damaged by lightning strikes and wars over the following centuries. And by the 9th century, little of its former glory remained. For hundreds of years, the Red Hill stood relatively quiet. The great Tibetan Empire had fragmented, and political power shifted away from Lhasa. It wasn't until the 17th century that the Potala Palace, as we know it, began to take shape. This revival was the vision of one of the most influential figures in Tibetan history, the great 5th Dalai Lama, Lobsang Gyatso. In 1642, the 5th Dalai Lama became the spiritual and political leader of a reunified Tibet. He needed a new seat of government, a place that would symbolize this new era of unity and the authority of the Gelug school of Tibetan Buddhism. The ruins on the Red Hill, with their sacred history tied to King Songtsen Gampo, were the perfect location. Construction began in 1645. The first phase focused on the Patrain Karpo, or the White Palace. This was to be the living quarters of the Dalai Lama and the administrative heart of the Tibetan government, known as the Kushag. Tens of thousands of workers, artisans, and craftsmen from all over Tibet were brought in for this monumental project. They worked with simple tools, using stone, wood, and a special type of mortars, made from earth, lime, and other materials, creating walls that were meters thick. In 1649, the White Palace was completed, and the 5th Dalai Lama moved his government from the nearby Draipom Monastery into his new home. The Potala Palace once again became the center of Tibetan life. The White Palace housed offices, assembly halls, and the private apartments of the Dalai Lama and his regents. Its stark white walls symbolize peace and spiritual authority. But the 5th Dalai Lama had an even grander vision. He wanted to build a structure that would not only serve the living but also honor the past and future. After his death in 1682, his regent, Desi Sanji Gyatso, kept his passing a secret for over a decade. Why? To ensure the completion of the second, and perhaps most sacred, part of the palace, the Patrang Marpo, the Red Palace. The regent knew that news of the Dalai Lama's death might halt construction, so he carried on, telling everyone that the Great Fifth was on a long spiritual retreat. The Red Palace was built to the west of the White Palace and was dedicated entirely to religious study and prayer. It's a complex labyrinth of chapels, halls, libraries, and galleries. Its deep red color signifies power and attainment, but its most important function was to house the tombs of the past Dalai Lamas. The tomb of the 5th Dalai Lama himself is the most magnificent of all. It's a massive stupa, nearly 15 meters tall, covered in an estimated 3,700 kilograms of solid gold and decorated with countless precious gems. It's a breathtaking sight that truly reflects the reverence Tibetans have for their spiritual leaders. Construction on the Red Palace was finally completed in 1694, and only then was the death of the 5th Dalai Lama announced. Over the next 2.5 centuries, the Potala Palace served as the winter residence of the successive Dalai Lamas. Each Dalai Lama would spend the winters here, governing the country and performing religious ceremonies. before moving to the Norbalinka Palace for the summer. The Potala continued to grow, with each generation adding new chapels, murals, and treasures. It became a vast repository of Tibetan culture, housing an incredible collection of sacred scriptures, historical documents, and priceless works of art, including thousands of thangkas, which are intricate Tibetan scroll paintings. The murals on the walls are like a history book, depicting everything from the creation of the world according to Buddhist cosmology to the life of the Buddha and the story of how Buddhism came to Tibet. Walking through its halls is like walking through time itself. The 20th century brought immense challenges. The palace survived the political upheavals of the 1950s, a period of great turmoil for Tibet. During this time, the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin, resided in the Potala Palace until he fled to India in 1959. Recognizing its immense cultural and historical value, the palace was protected and spared from the widespread destruction that occurred during the Cultural Revolution in the following decade. It's said that Premier Zhou Enlai personally intervened to ensure its preservation. Today, the Potala Palace is no longer a seat of government or a royal residence. It has been transformed into a museum, open to visitors from all over the world, but it remains a deeply sacred place for Tibetan Buddhists. Every day, you can see pilgrims making their way up the long, winding stone staircases, spinning prayer wheels, and chanting mantras, just as their ancestors did for centuries. The air is thick with the scent of burning juniper incense and yak butter lamps, a sensory link to the palace's spiritual past. In 1994, UNESCO recognized the Potala Palace as a World Heritage Site, acknowledging its outstanding universal value. To protect this ancient structure, the number of visitors is now strictly limited each day. The Potala Palace stands on 13 levels, contains over 1,000 rooms, 10,000 shrines, and about 200,000 statues. It is a vertical city, a fortress of faith, and a treasure chest of history. From its origins as the fortress of a great king to its rebirth as the sacred home of the Dalai Lamas, the Potala Palace embodies the spirit, resilience, and artistic genius of the Tibetan people. It is more than just a palace. It is the very heart of Tibet, a beacon of spirituality that continues to inspire awe and wonder in all who lay eyes upon it. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of the Potala Palace. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more stories from around the world. Let me know in the comments what other historical sites you'd like to explore next. Until then, stay curious.